네, 안녕하세요.
Good afternoon. My name is Kim Yoon-mi. Today I'm going to introduce to you whale village that has stopped whaling. I am visiting fishing villages when I have time, and I want to introduce two villages. One is 장생포, a whaling village, and the other is Yeongdo-hari Port, which was famous for shellfish. By looking at these two villages, I would like to introduce fishing villages and the values of fishing villages. 장생포 Port, people at 장생포 Port started whaling about 7,000 years ago. October is the season of whaling festival for 장생포. At this moment, people at 장생포 no longer catch whales. However, they have a lot of heritage related to whaling. They have a village of whaling. They have a museum, and they also offer ferries for whaling. 7,000 years ago, whales were caught by people of 장생포, and you can see that these images are etched on the stone, and you see 53 different kinds of whales that are etched on the stone. The fact that it is the earliest relic of whale, and it is a unique fishing culture of the North Pacific coast, and recognizing these values, UNESCO listed this as a World Heritage. During the Goryeo and Joseon dynasty, although they did not catch fish, they did have the knowledge of how to catch fish. And after that, it became an industry. They started to catch fish on an industrial level. You see the photo left-hand side, these are the fish boats at the 장생 port, and the one on the right is their commemorative photo they took before going out to catch whales. And then next to 장생포 port there is Bangojin port. These two fish ports were known for whaling ports. And after being liberated from the Japanese rule in 1945, the industry of catching whale continued. On the left-hand side, you see a photo. A big whale was caught by the people, and it was drawn to the land. And the photo on the right is how the fish port looked like in 1978. It's a small fish port, but 13,000 people lived there because their industry was flourishing. And after that, the government designated Ulsan as an industrial complex, and they started to make land out of the water. So they only left a very small part of the port. On the left-hand side, you see the 장생포 in 1960, before the government started to make land. And within 10 years, you see the photo on the right-hand side, it is the 장생포 port, the same place, 1967. And people started to move out of 장생포 port, and one example they moved to is Shinhwa village. It is a village that is known for its beautiful murals. Along with the whaling festivals, Shinhwa Maul is another spot that tourists go to during the festivals. So people in Shinhwa village, they no longer engaged in fishing, but they have fond memories of 장생포. They have fond memories of the flourishing days of 장생포 port, but they feel that they were drawn out of their hometown. In 1986, the whaling industry goes through a big difficulty because the international community declared that commercial whaling should be stopped. The population of this village declined from 13,000 to only 1,200. Only about 1,000 people were left there in 장생포, and they maintained the industry there. And they thought about how to revive their ports. In 1995, they started this festival, a very small village festival where village people came together for a singing and sharing some good food. But this became more popular and bigger. The festival became bigger and bigger year by year. And in 2005, Ulsan hosted the general meeting of International Whaling Commission, which increased the awareness about whaling itself. So the Ministry of Knowledge and Economy designated Changsaengpo as a whaling cultural special zone. And that came to be the Ulsan Whale Festival. Ulsan Whale Festival is the most popular and prominent festivals in Ulsan that spends the biggest budget. But on the other side, you have to think about the people who were drawn out of their hometown and the kind of fishing grounds that were lost as Changsaengpo was transformed from a fishing village to an industrial complex. 2 years ago, there was a problem because they were no longer engaged in fishing, and it is difficult to know how much catch they have. So the fishing community fraternities were all disbanded. The problem with that is not only in Changsaengpo port, but there are other villages that are losing fishing community fraternities. In Busan and Ulsan, there are people who still live there but do not engage in any fishing and do not catch any fish. There are 40 such fraternities where the members do not do any fish. So we have to think about whether to really disband all these community fraternities when the people are still living there, although they're not fishing. And then to give you another example, there is Onsan Industrial Complex, which is next to Changsaengpo Port. There you have the cultural heritage called Cheongmu or Cheongmu dance. This shows the role of this place as a port, and it is designated as a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage. So the government hosts the cultural festival, and Ulsan City hosts the cultural festival as well. So these two ports have discovered their resources for the future, building on their past fishing village or the village that was known for dancing, traditional dancing. So you see that they don't catch fish anymore, but still have the culture of whale catching. So in this age of culture and ecology and environment, what should we do about this with this heritage? Whaling is no longer an industry and it has become legend. Can they resume whaling? Realistically, they cannot. Same for these people in Changsaengpo, and maybe what we can learn from this example is the fishing heritage and the cultural assets of marine fishing. We should be able to create some added value that are sustainable and future-oriented. People of Changsaengpo was self-sufficient with fishing from 7,000 years ago, and then they transformed this fishing into a fisheries industry. It declined at the point, however, it became a history and they utilized this history.
And this village has been fishing for the past 8,000 years. We call this the Shell Mound or Midden Village. It's located in Yeongdo Island, or if you go to Taejong Korea National Maritime Museum, Shell Midden Museum, or Maritime Clusters, they're all located in this area. In 1969, they excavated this village and they found out that this village was filled with fisheries, and the fishing industry was really vibrant in the past. They could find this out through archaeological excavation. And we found out that they are trying to, in this village, continue on with their traditional fishing industry. So let me explain this further. Here you see the Haryang port. The picture here that you see are some samples of the Haryang port. So the vessels go here, and they also sell the fisheries they catch. And the village people gather around to engage in their daily activities in this port. So we wondered how you could use this port to promote these community activities. And fishermen, fishers, they create their own community, which is the fishing village fraternity. So in Dongsan region, they also have something called Dongsan Fishing Village Fraternity. They don't have a specialty seafood or shellfish products, but this fraternity is very active. So all of the members make big decisions about the village, and they run and operate the village. So this village is also part of the New Deal project. And one of the important things of a fishing village is the fishing ground and fishing port. So the people who live here try to make use of their fishing grounds and fishing ports, look after them. And unlike the past, you can't just catch fish without any effort. So you need to make sure that the ecosystem are looked after. They build artificial fishing reefs. They release juvenile young fish and young shellfishes. So looking after these fishing grounds and fishing ports is what these people do in this town. And this is all for the future generation. And from each fishing village, for instance, the Dongsang fishing village, fishing is quite popular. So this has become sort of a product for the village. And people can actually go and experience those fishing to learn about those villages and how people live in this area. But no longer do the people in the fishing villages only engage in fishing. They can rent out their fishing boats, but for Dongsan Fishing Village Fraternity, they also rent out yachts, and they also run cruise ships. So in fishing villages, you have fishers, but you also have haenyos, the female divers. So you can see these haenyos diving into the seas. And this has become a UNESCO heritage. A lot of people are interested in this haenyo culture. And here in the Dongsan village, you can go and actually see the haenyo museum, and you can actually see the haenyos dive. The seafood that they catch are sold. If you go to Taejongdae, which is a tourist attraction, they have a pebble beach. So these haenyos, the female divers, catch their seafood and sell it in the pebble beach within the Taejongdae tourist attraction. And one of the important community activities is the big catch ritual. It's to pray that the fishers come back home safely and they come back home with a big haul. This used to be a local festival in the past, but now many people from different regions come to the festival. It's a very open festival to promote the village and to share what kind of specialties they have. So when we talk about fishing village, we have areas like Hari Port, which has 7,000, 8,000 years of history, but there are other regions called Yeongdo, which has the District South Port Fishing Village Fraternity. But most of this has been reclaimed through the seashore reclamation. And they build ship repair industries and shipbuilding industries. So you have something called this Kangkangi town, which is the sound of repairing the ships. And all of these assets are coupled with their traditional fishing. So you can see that these fishing villages are changing to other industries. So how do we maintain these traditional fishery? They maintain smaller fishing industries, but these villages also have other industries such as culture activities and others. So the fishing villages are changing. They're changing drastically, which is creating new fishing communities. In the past, only the villagers used to be the fishing village. They used to be the member of the community, but now we have more people coming in from the outside. And the name of the villages should be used as a brand. So let's say we take a unique specialty product from a specific village. It should be named according to the village's name. Or the scenery with local characteristics should be promoted. And we should have festivals which portray the unique identity of that fishing village. So, how can we make use of fishing and non-fishing industries? And it's really meaningful that we maintain this fishing village likeness. So how do we maintain the essence of the fishing village identity and yet create a village that the modern people want? And I think the term that represents this is fishing village likeness. So the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs used the term called rural likeness, farm town-like, rural characteristics, farm town amenity resources, farm village sceneries, were some of the things that they used to restore this farm town likeness, and we're trying to do this in the fishing scene as well. The Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries are trying to restore the fishing village likeness. So fishing village is the space for the fishermen, but it's also the space for the public. So the ordinary people should be interested in the fishing village, and they should be responsible when it comes to the different changes and transformations of the fishing villages. We need to raise awareness to that end. So we need to do two things. We need to maintain the tradition, continue on the tradition, but at the same time, we need to make sure that the fishing villages are recreated based on what the general public wants. So first, we need the fishing village likeness. That will lead to that specific fishing village vibe. But the very foundation of the fishing village identity is the essence, which is the fisheries, which requires the ocean. You need to have the ocean to catch the fish. And there is the fishing industry, which is engaged by the fishermen. That's what the essence of a fishing village is about. And on top of that, we need to add the modern role of the fishing village. That's what the fisherman wants, and that's what the general public wants. So we can converge these two to create this fishing village identity and then draw that vibe of the fishing village, which will help people relax and enjoy comfort. And I would like to say many different projects and businesses are evolving from these concepts. So how will the fishing village change going forward? There will be many changes, but I'll take some examples. So beaches used to be fishing villages, but fishing villages evolved, and that's what led to the creation of beaches such as Gwanganli, Haeundae, and Songdo Beach. So if you go to the beach, you will almost all the time find a fishing village next to the beach. But due to the urbanization and industrialization, the fishing villages are changing. In Busan, the second new port construction is planned, and a new airport construction is in discussion for Gadok Island, which means that many of these areas will be reclaimed, and that will lead to the loss of fishing grounds, making the fishermen move to a different area. So all of this needs to be considered when we talk about the change of the fishing village. Aging society is also a big problem. For instance, the Gyeongnam region's fishing villages for experience and recreation plan was abandoned due to aging population. So how do we define the fishing village? First, we need to define the space, and I think we need a bigger definition of the space. Traditionally, the unit used to be one town, but now we need to connect these towns and connect the town and other urban areas. And the composition of the villages should change. No longer are the fishing villages comprised by traditional fishermen, but other people engaging in different industries. So the composition of who are part of the fishing villages should also change. And the economy of the fishing village is no longer just about fishing. So fishing villages are changing greatly. It's undergoing a big transformation, but we need to maintain its essence, and many projects are trying to pursue this. So if we reinterpret the value of fishing village, we would have to tackle these two things that I just mentioned to continue on the tradition of the fishing